Something hurts you, there are two options. You can either become wounded or you can become wise. This is the choice. The more things hurt you early on in your life, the wiser you should have become, isn't it? But unfortunately, most people become wounded. This is simply because they just need an excuse to turn their own intelligence against themselves, that's all.
I absolutely love this. In all the things that you go through from childhood to adulthood and the experiences that you are exposed to, did you become wounded or wise? Now, everyone has trauma. Everyone in some aspect, shape, or form of their lives have become wounded. But I would hope that you, as an individual, would have at least set the standard at trying to make consistent to become wise over wounded, because becoming wise is pretty much in your best interest, right? But there's some people in the world that haven't even thought about it. They're just kind of going through the motions, and these experiences are just kind of washing over them, and the choice of whether or not to become wise or wounded hasn't even come into a thought or into question or under consideration. So most people are becoming wounded because it hasn't even occurred to them that they actually may have control over the outcome, even though that same person may not necessarily have control over the experience. You want to set a standard for yourself and become consistent within that standard so you can establish a form of discipline for yourself. And you can do that not just in relation to goal setting and careers and just overall goals, but you can do that with yourself emotionally. You can set a standard and establish consistency so it can reinforce your level of discipline in that particular thing. Like this, for example, knowing that when you have experiences in life, you don't have control if the experience is a good one or a bad one, but you can control to some extent and to a good percentage of an extent how you respond to that experience. And since that is the case, this means that you can not only set boundaries for yourself, you can set goals for yourself and limitations for yourself. Of course, all of those are within the same realm of boundaries, but you can, let's say, if you're talking about people taking advantage of you, you can start setting the standard that I'll give them one shot or I'll give them 3 opportunities. And when they run out of those opportunities, I will change how I maneuver, and that maneuver will look like this. And if you start putting that into practice to the point that it becomes consistent, eventually it will become a discipline of yours, and you can set that standard and always remain consistent within that standard emotionally, and limit your stress, limit your anxiety, limit the amount of exposure that you have to situations that may bring about negative experiences or something they may push you into a depressing type situation. So you can set those boundaries. A lot of times when we're dealing with emotion in today's date, seeing how people react to things, it really speaks to the lack of discipline emotionally, because we're not really taught that from parent to child. We're more focused on goal setting and looking the part than we are teaching our children to be emotionally intelligent. So what that generally looks like is being disciplined within your emotions and knowing how far you're willing to go and setting a boundary, and knowing when it's time to enforce that boundary and being disciplined about it. So if you've never thought about it before, maybe today is a good day to start. Really sit down and think about the experiences from your past. Are you still reeling about the trauma and complaining and speaking about what happened 10 years, 15, 20 years past? If so, perhaps you went in the wrong direction. Consider the fact that your experience was wounded instead of wise. Do you have an opportunity to look at that experience and change it around and fix your perspective and adjust it to a wise experience so you can heal from that moment and propel yourself forward so you can now change the trajectory of your life and move forward towards establishing a better quality of life? You know, the thing that will really disturb your peace is when you find out that every traumatic experience that you had in the past, you actually could have weighed in on that and determined a good portion of the outcome simply by adjusting your perspective. To know that you actually had more power than what you gave yourself credit for. And once you learn that and establish consistency and discipline within it, you'll never let it go. I know it's hard now to even think you have that kind of control, but trust me, even the most traumatic of moments can be turned into something that can make you stronger and help you learn about yourself and make you a person that is able to empathize and impact the lives of others. All of these things are things that will make you wise instead of wounded. And once you're able to tap into that space and build consistency and discipline in being wise instead of wounded, you'll start to establish your confidence again. You'll start to learn yourself and become more self-aware. You'll start to smile more and become more optimistic and positive. And you'll start to live your life instead of letting life happen to you. And I know that's ultimately what you desire. No one really wants to look like they have their best life. They actually want to have it, right? So don't be afraid of yourself. Just do the work, make the decision, and put in the practice. Peace.